best day ever. It is the best day ever. So is yesterday. So is tomorrow and every now and forever. You guys ever think about dying? Some things have been happening that might be related. Cold shower, falling off my roof, and my heels are on the ground. What do I have to do? You have to go to the real world. You can go back to your regular life, or you can know the truth about the universe. The choice is now yours. The first one, the high heel. You have to want to know. Okay? Do it again. Okay. Wow, this is the real world. What's going on? Why are these men looking at me?
Yeah, they're also staring at me.
Barbie in the real world. That's impossible.
If this goes out, this could mean extremely weird things for our world. This would be just wild.
I haven't played with Barbie since we were like 5 years old. Oh.
No one rests until this doll is back in a box.
Humans only have one answer.
Get that Barbie!
Ideas live forever.
No, I won't let you do just one appendectomy.
But I'm a man.
But not a doctor.
Can I talk to a doctor?
You are talking to a doctor.
I need a cookie pen.
No.
Sure.
No. Doctor, somebody get security.
Is Barbie coaching still in doubt?
So yeah.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Coller School of Management. And before we start, to introduce our guest speaker today, guest of honor, I'm happy to invite Mr. Amos Elad, Vice President of Tel Aviv University, to introduce Mr. Ynon Kreiz.
Thank you. Pleasure. It's a great honor to be here today and introduce Ynon, who's a proud alum from our university. Ynon Kreiz is the chairman and CEO of Mattel, who is a leading global toy company and owner of one of the strongest portfolios of children's and family entertainment, fascinating in the toy world. Prior to joining Mattel, Ynon was chairman and CEO of Maker Studios, a global leader in short-form video content and one of YouTube's largest multi-channel networks. Prior to Maker Studios, Ynon was chairman and CEO of the Endemol Group, the world's largest independent television production company. Before Endemol, he was a general partner at Bellatron Capital, formerly Benchmark Capital Europe, one of the leading early-stage startup investors in Europe. Prior to Bellatron, Ynon co-founded Fox Kids Europe NV, where he served as chairman and CEO. He served on the board of directors of. He serves right now on the board of directors of Warner Music Group, and is a member of the board of trustees of the UCLA Anderson School of Management. So, a long list. Very proud. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amos. Thank you, everyone, for coming, and thank you, Ynon, for joining us. Together here with me is Ambassador Ido Aharoni, who will help me in interviewing Ynon. And just for the order, so we'll be talking for Ido and I will be talking for around 35-40 minutes. We'll be talking to Ynon, and then we'll open it for questions to the audience. Okay, so that's you'll have time to ask your own questions. So Ynon, welcome. It's really nice to have you here. Welcome back home. We're excited to have you, and my sincere apologies for leaving early. You know all about commitments of in leadership positions, so I need to open a ceremony in one of our programs. And that leads me to my first question. You do a lot of things, and it takes a lot of time, and you raise kids, and your wife is here. I thought I saw her at a certain point.
She's at the back.
She's at the back where you
Yeah.
can, hello. And I met Liam, your daughter, at a certain point, and she's wonderful. She's at Wharton now, right, at UPenn?
Right.
And so obviously you did a great job in raising kids. So perhaps you can tell us, how your schedule looks like on a daily basis, and how do you handle it all? Because I think that's one of the struggles that we leadership positions have, balancing and handling it all.
Well, first of all, thank you for coming and hosting me here today. It's an honor for me and a privilege. I kind of apologize we're doing it in English. I would have loved to do it in Hebrew given the audience, but I know they're broadcasting it over the web, so it's in English. So it's great to be back. I used to go to school here in this very building, and it's great to be kind of come full circle and be here again. So it's a kind of a tough question to respond. It is about managing your time effectively. Family is always first, and this is all the thanks to my wife, Anat, who is in charge of the house, of raising 4 kids inside 5 years apart, so it's a very busy household. And of course at Mattel is a large operation, large global company, and I'm blessed to have an incredible leadership team that is very, very strong, very diverse, very effective in running the company day to day. My job is to really empower the team. It is to promote collaboration, stimulate innovation, and drive execution to make sure that we are successful in what we do. And in the middle of all of it, you have a lot of unforeseen, unplanned activities. So sometimes you have to be quick, you have to be nimble. And as a company, we really designed the organization to be flexible and responsive so we can address changes and be able to navigate in a busy world and a changing landscape by the day.
That's, but I want to dig just a little bit deeper. It's not in the question. How does your day look like? When are you waking up? When do you go to the gym? I mean, how do you handle all of that?
Well, I'll give you a bit, maybe more than you need to know, but I do wake up early without an alarm clock, normally at around 5. Anat can attest to that. I normally start the day at the gym while I watch Israeli news. So I keep up with things that happen in Israel pretty much on a daily basis. And then I start early with my, to address emails that came overnight and things that happened while I was asleep. And then the day starts normally pretty early, and you finish, the day varies, every day is different. Sometimes you travel, sometimes it's in Los Angeles, sometimes meeting at the office, sometimes outside the office. Every day is different. But it is really, all in all, about how do you do the right thing for the company, how do you continue to advance our business, and create more opportunities, and follow our mission as a global organization that has an important role in society, and real responsibility to do the right things by our consumers.
That's interesting, and I want to go back to the trailer that we've just seen. Obviously, Barbie's huge. It's huge as a product, and now it's going to be huge as a movie. And it's part of your strategy that we'll hear. I'll probably ask you a direct question about your strategy soon. But I do want to ask about something that is related to this school. So, those of you who don't know, Will Ferrell, who plays Ynon in the movie, Will Ferrell is an American icon. It's really the classical, probably most famous Will Ferrell movies where he played a NASCAR driver named Ricky Bobby. And I grew up. I spent 10 years in the Southern United States, and there is saying there. It's called "Dear Lord, Baby Jesus." So it's really something that is ingrained within the American culture. And all of a sudden, this American icon plays an Israeli guy that graduated from Tel Aviv University, and
This is not in the movie, but that part.
and so how do you feel about? I mean, have you, when you graduated, have you ever thought this is what's going to happen? This is how you imagine your career taking this path?
Well, Will Ferrell has been one of my favorite actors ever since Zoolander, if you remember that iconic movie. And the movie is very much about self-deprecation and self-awareness, and we embrace that as a company. So it is somewhat of an experience to have Will Ferrell play the Mattel CEO, and I can tell you he gets away with a lot more than I can. And we have very different leadership styles, but he can afford that. And all in all, it will be, self-deprecation will be part of what the movie manifests, and all part of a great experience to create something that is very unique for audiences all over the world.
And did you have this? So what did you plan on doing when you graduated? I mean, did you plan on being a CEO of one of the largest toy companies in the world, or this is something that you just ran into?
Actually, when I was still in the military, I wanted to do my graduate school in business in the U.S. So this was a few years of a kind of plan. I had to finish the military. I wanted to travel for 2 years. I needed to study. I wanted to study in Israel in Tel Aviv University in economics and management, so I can have higher chances of getting into an American school where I wanted to study an MBA. So it was a bit of a plan. 7 years of a journey, and I was hoping to be able to get into the entertainment industry in some fashion. And at that stage, clearly, when you're still in the military, you don't have a complete path, and this is pre-internet, so access to information was not as easy and available as it is today. But directionally, this was my where I was trying to head at that age. And I have to say that Tel Aviv University served a very important role for me in that it really, academically, the level of education and skills that you acquire here were at the highest level, and definitely prepared me for my graduate school at UCLA, at one of the top schools in America in business, and helped me be able to, from where I started, to be in a better position to graduate from that school and continue the journey onwards from there.
Amazing. So let me start focusing on Mattel, because it wasn't in a good shape when you arrived. Actually, there were people in the market that were concerned about Mattel's ability to even survive. Bonds below investment grade, and it probably wasn't the best investment during those years. And you arrived and you completely reshaped the company. What opportunities have you seen in Mattel that made you actually take this job? And if you could tell us more, give us some more color about the transformation that you made there.
Yeah, so I always admired and revered Mattel as one of the most iconic companies in corporate America, even when I was in my early days of my career in the children's entertainment business in Europe. And Mattel did go through a period of challenges and several years of decline. And I was offered to join the board in 2017, which I thought would be interesting to be part of a company in need of transformation. And shortly after I joined the board, I was offered to become chairman of the company. Initially, non-executive chairman, and then executive chairman. And before I was formally appointed, the prior CEO stepped down. And I then was offered to become a CEO, and effectively was the fourth CEO in 4 years of the company. But I truly believe that we have an incredible opportunity to transform the company, given the quality assets that we own in some of the strongest brands in children and family entertainment in the world. And we actually believe that next to Disney, we own the strongest portfolio in children and family entertainment. Now, at that point, there was no, when I stepped into the job, directionally and instinctively, I knew there would be opportunities. Clearly, when you do that, there's no playbook. There's no a predefined formula to do that. But I knew there's a lot to work with, given the quality of the company, the quality of the people, and the standing of the company. And the transformation was very much about evolving from being a toy manufacturing company that was making items to become an IP company that is managing franchises. And the realization for us was that the people who buy our product are not just consumers, they are fans. Once you realize that you have an audience of fans, then opportunities come your way and become a lot bigger than being only in the toy business.
That's brilliant. You moved from tangible business to intangible business. That's fascinating.
Well, we didn't move away from the toy business. The toy business is actually a great business to be when things work. And it's a growing industry. It's a large, about $100 billion of global business in this category alone. So it's a large business, but a large industry. So when things work well, it's a great place to be. But the opportunity was to grow, in addition to what we do on the toy side, outside of the toy aisle, and leverage the assets that we own to participate in other highly accretive business verticals, such as film, television, live events, consumer product and merchandise, music, digital experiences, parks, and many other verticals that are also driven by big brands, big franchises that are critical to rise above the rest of the competition. And given that we own this asset, the opportunity for us is to expand beyond, not instead of, but beyond and in addition to what we do in the toy side of the company.
Fascinating. So, in addition to the day-to-day activity, and strengthening the financial strength of Mattel, thinking about strategy, being a CEO of such a big corporation, global corporation, requires significant leadership skills. And I wonder whether you can help us to try to understand how you see leadership and what are the qualities that you think are important for leaders, especially in a global corporate.
Every person has a different style. One is Will Ferrell, and then everything is from there onwards. But the company is a large operation. We have tens of thousands of people working all over the world. In order to reposition the company, we had to take on major restructuring. We reduced our cost base by over $1 billion in 3 years. We had to reduce the headquarters, the corporate workforce by over 30%, or almost 35%, from 13,500 to 8,500, so 5,000 less jobs in the company, and in the process grow our business with less people, less resources. And we exited 5 factories and grew our output in doing that. So sometimes when you go through a major transformation like that, you actually go through a period of decline in order to then come back again. As a public company in a very competitive industry, you don't have that luxury. You can't park the car, step aside, do what you have to do, and then come back and continue driving. You actually have to do it while you are competing in a very sophisticated marketplace. And we were able to do that largely through an excellent team that we assembled. And as a CEO, your role is to attract the best people and create an environment where you can amplify their skills, their capabilities, and lead by consensus with a large team. No one CEO can be in every place and do everything by yourself. It's all about empowering the team, designing an organization that can take on challenges, and you continue to lead by or around a very clear purpose and mission. And this is one of the things that was very important to us, and one thing I focused early on is to create a very clear purpose for Mattel and a very clear mission. You know, our mission is to create innovative products and experiences that inspire, entertain, and develop children through play. And when you galvanize the organization around that mission with the purpose of empowering the next generation to explore the wonder of childhood and reach their full potential, when that purpose and that mission are clear, and you define your brand purpose, your leadership values, your product attributes, things become much more clear to the organization. And we used to have, before the transformation, Mattel had a strategy that was articulated in a 3-inch thick document. There was a strategy document that was that thick. And we brought it down to 1 page. Not that it's easy to execute, but at least it's very clear. What is our journey? And each and every person of our team all over the world has their own goals and objectives that ladder up to the corporate purpose and mission. And every person knows exactly what they're supposed to achieve and do in order to aim at our goals and be very focused on execution, on achieving results, being very performance-oriented. We also became very flexible in the process and gave our own people much more ownership and flexibility of the day-to-day and control of their time. And some things are obvious, some things are more subtle in the way you manage a company. For example, we have an unlimited vacation policy at Mattel, unlimited vacation policy, where we actually don't measure and take or record time when people take a vacation. This is something that we trust our people to manage themselves. There's no department that manages that area. Everyone is in charge of their own vacation and time off, as long as they work it out with the manager and continue to get to do their job. And so that trust and that empowerment is part of the culture at Mattel.
Wow, that's fascinating. It's actually very difficult to do, an output-based measurement rather than input.
Exactly.
That's not easy. That's not an easy thing to do.
Okay.
No, take it away.
Can you? Is my microphone doesn't work?
No, working. Just want to hear that they will hear it better. So before I give the time to Ido, that I know you know each other for a while, and Ido probably has gazillion more time experience in me in the movie industry, and Ido, despite I'm better looking, that's
well, of the three of us, the only one that looks like a movie star is him.
That's true. That's true.
He does my PR as well.
Always him.
But you talked about mission, and I know purpose is really important to you, and ESG is really important to you. ESG, environmental, social governance. To those of you I know, we had a conference about it lately. And you know, I'm a classical capital market guy, right? So I'm a finance person who is extremely skeptical about all those ESG matrices and what have you. Because at the end, you know, I look and I see a lot of money wasting greenwashing machines, and I know it's different in Mattel, and it seems like the market actually believe you. I actually get, you know, as a father of a young child and a 4-year-old daughter, I get very touched by seeing, you know, a black Barbie or a black doll and an astronaut and a doctor. So that's very touching. That being said, you know, Margot Robbie, the classical blonde American girl, is playing Barbie in the movie. And, you know, I was wondering about your thoughts about how to reconcile all those competing forces, about resources, about values, because that's, you know, from my experience, balancing it all in this corporate setting, as you mentioned, you have tough competitors, you know, every dollar counts, and how do you balance it all in, you know, together with the values that you try to bring to the table?
The thing about Mattel as a company, what we do has real societal impact. We have real cultural impact. We shape the next generation. We partner with parents, with families, and we influence children at a very young and formative age. And we take that very seriously. And as a company, we defined our goal to contribute to a more diverse, equitable, inclusive, and sustainable future. And this is not just a lip service or a slogan. It's actually embedded in how we operate, how we manage a company, how we design our product, how we think about our franchise management inside the company, not just how we talk externally. And it has to be authentic, it has to be organic to what we do, especially when you deal with children who are the most sophisticated consumer out there. And if this is not authentic and if this is not real, they smell it out very quickly. So what we do is across multiple aspects of the company. We are a commercial enterprise, so it has to fit into a commercial equation, because theoretically, even if all of your product can be sustainable today, it might not be economical, so you have to do it incrementally and over time achieve your goals. But this designing product that speaks to diversity, equity, and inclusion is endemic, is part of what we do. The Barbie strategy and brand purpose to empower the limitless potential in every girl is very much how the brand is designed and how it is managed. The dolls that we make, some that you mentioned, all the way to dolls with prosthetic limbs or a doll with a Down syndrome that we recently released, are not for marketing purposes. This is about representing the world through the eyes of children and how they see the world, with room for every person in any form and background. So there are more than 170 different Barbies that in different body shapes and hair color and skin tone and eye shade and any different representation. And likewise, we apply the same in other products, not just Barbie, also in Hot Wheels or American Girl or Uno, where we create product that represents culture, that also advances our goals towards sustainability and the green economy. And you can't change the world by yourself, but you can continue to contribute and do it very, very authentically. And it is great to see how that message and those values come through our product and what we do. The Barbie movie is very much about that. It's about diversity and inclusivity, and it will come out very clearly in the movie, without saying too much about the plot. But it is core to what we do and how we think about the world. And we have that, because of the strength and reach of our brands that go back 2 and even 3 generations, you really have that opportunity. Play is the language that we use to speak to our consumers and children. And once you have that established connection, you can actually really take it and leverage it in many different ways. And what is unique about where we are, given that our product, what we do, is very tactile. Toys are very tactile, so children hold it, they hug our product, they wear it, they go to bed with it. It's aspirational and inspirational. And once you have that level of emotional connection with your fans, everything is possible. So this is not just a physical product that you buy off the shelves. People have a relationship with our product. They relate, there's a legacy, there's heritage, there's history, and it really matters. And our job is to take that heritage and continue to evolve what we do, so that not only it's timeless, but also it's very timely. And bridging the product that is both timeless and timely is the art and science of what we do, and how we continue to evolve our strategy, both as a commercial organization, but also as a company that has real societal, cultural impact.
I heard you, and it's amazing. You really care. It's you talk about it, and I see through your face, through your head development, that you actually care about that. And that's amazing. Now I'm happier that my son plays with Hot Wheels all the time. But that's wonderful, and you have that.
In this day and age, you really, when you run, especially a company like Mattel, you have to do the right thing. And if you cut corners, and if you don't do the right thing by your product, given what we do, that at the most basic level, it's not good for business. Obviously, you don't do it just for business. You do it because in this day and age, it matters. And corporates have a role to play outside of trying to create shareholder value, which is absolutely what we try to do. The good news is that you can actually try to achieve both, and not necessarily one instead of the other.
Amazing. Ambassador?
Ido would do. Well, I think to continue your line of question, I think that what's amazing about what you've done, Ynon, is that you did it so seamlessly. It looks natural, and we all know what's happening with other brands. You don't have to say anything, but all you have to do is read about what happened to Bud Light to understand what happens when you do ESG heavy-handedly, meaning in the name of inclusion, you exclude your base, your consumer base, and you've done it beautifully. And I just wanted to ask you about, what is your definition, because we have many students here in the room looking up to you. They dream one day to be Ynon Kreiz. And what is your definition of transformational leadership as opposed to transactional leadership? And we know way too many business leaders in Israel that are transactional, not because they're bad people, but because they don't understand strategy the way you do.
Well, you're giving me too much credit. Let me start with that. But it's every situation is different, and of course you have to adapt and manage a situation in different ways. I was privileged to be in different companies in different stages, from a startup to early stage companies, to mid stage companies, or to Mattel, which is a 78-year-old company. And every situation is very different. I really believe ultimately it goes down to people. You can talk about brands and assets and intellectual properties and everything around, but ultimately it's all about the people. And the people inside the company, the team that you build around yourself, or around the company, not yourself, but around each other, and how you create an environment where people can excel and be at their best. And I really believe a good leader surrounds themselves with people that are, each of them is better than what they do in their expertise. And your job is to really let them be the best and bring to the table whatever they can achieve. And every situation is different, so there is no formula for it. And of course we also make mistakes, and what looks seamless from the outside, not always so easy from the inside, and you have to course correct in real time, and this is part of the journey. But I think you really have to be able to quickly realize where you head in the wrong direction and make changes. And that's part of the journey, and just be in tune and open-minded and flexible to take, small signals. You don't always get a big red flag that tells you you have a problem. Sometimes it's the small signals that are more important, and you just have to be very in tune to what you receive from the environment around you and adjust. But ultimately, it is about the strength of the people in each organization.
And I think that, I've known Ynon for many, many years. When he met me the first time, I still had hair. Imagine how long that was.
That's a scary thought.
Yeah, that's a very scary thought. So we met, and I have images of meetings with you, and it was always about things that were extracurricular. So it was never about his business. Every time we met, it's because he really cared about Israel. So I remember a meeting, you came from London to talk about Israel's image. We met in my office in New York. First time we met was when Shimon Peres came to LA, September of 1994, to talk about the Oslo process. She was very interested to learning about what's happening with the Palestinians, and I was involved with that negotiations and so on. And then I have the image of you at the Peninsula when you joined Mattel's board, and you already spoke about your vision for the IP, so I have those images. But you always really cared about what you brought from here, your military experience, the Tel Aviv University experience. So tell us about how that, how Israel, the core of you, met America, the entertainment industry.
I'm very Israeli. Born and raised, of course. My parents are here. My wife is Israeli. Her parents are here. Our siblings are here. We have a place here for vacations, and our kids speak Hebrew, not just to us, but among each other, which is the real test. This is always, that's where you're from, and that's where, that's your origin. But it's great, to have the opportunity to do what I do outside of the country. I always follow very closely what happens here. Every Israeli in some ways is an ambassador, not as good as you, but and not as formal, but we all play a role in representing Israel in the outside world. And what is interesting, at least in the job that I have, that our company is very global. It's an American corporation, but it's a global company. And the world is very global in that regard. Every company I've been involved with had people from literally all over the world. So always very international, cosmopolitan settings. And this is something that I enjoy, and I try to promote and create a diverse group of people from everywhere. And as a person, you have to be able to adapt and respond and play in a game of a global situation. But caring very much about what happens here, following the news daily, and I don't exaggerate. It's very daily, and having still very many close friends in Israel, and getting feedback from what happens here, and visiting here often. You always keep a very close connection to the country, and not just for vacations, because you really care. So, long way to say, I don't know what in me, as an Israeli, that played a role in what I do outside of Israel. I'm sure there is. It's easy to say Israeli chutzpah or all of that. I don't know if it's that. I think the concept of looking at the end result, or in the way we call it tachlis, which is not a word that really exists in other languages in the same form, but being kind of tachlis about things is clearly something I focus as a person. I don't know if it's because I'm just Israeli, but definitely something that I always look at and say, how do we execute? Have we achieved what we're set out to do? What is the bottom line? How do we get to the end result quickly? Is part of the goal.
I don't want to embarrass him, but people say in the industry, gets things done, never drops the ball, which is saying a lot in the entertainment industry. I'll give you an example. I just came from a master class which I conducted with Hollywood producer Larry Kazanoff. I told them from here, Larry Kazanoff is the guy who produced Mortal Kombat, Brand, True Lies, lots of movies, worked for Vestron in the 1980s, if you remember, Platoon, Dirty Dancing, all those movies he produced. And he said, Ynon Kreiz, I love this guy. And so that's the word. People love you because you get things done. And I think that what you've done with Mattel is a perfect example. And so we thank you for being here. And I'd like to open the floor for the questions of the audience. If you can identify yourself, your organizational affiliation, and let me just remind people that a question is a short sentence with a question mark in the end. All right, we'll start.
My name is Daniel. I'm an exchange student here. My question is, what are you most passionate about, and where do you see yourself in 20 years?
It's great question.
It's a very narrow question. It depends what area. I'm passionate about my family, my company that I run and friends and family, and you try to balance the time between all of them. And in 20 years' time, I hope to be still doing the things that I do today in new forms and new incarnations, but continue to do what I do and more in being able to find my passion in those areas.
Yes, please.
Hi, my name is Shuli Gillett. I'm a teaching fellow here at Tel Aviv University, and I work in the area of children's technology. And I really appreciate what you said about a win-win situation and doing what's right for children and taking responsibility. That's also good for business. And my question is, how do I get more of the CEOs I work with to think like that and to get them to do what's right for kids when designing technology? How do I convince them? I can say, Ynon Kreiz said that, that's already great. But what else can I say to get them to do what's right?
I think experience shows that. And I think when you do things, if you cut corners or if you do things that don't play in the right way, it comes back very quickly to bite you and you get the short end of the stick. And so, it's, I guess if they tried and failed, that would be a good lesson. But as I said, there is no formula, and you have to really follow your values and what you believe in. And I think because what we do, it does matter. And Mattel recently, about a week ago, was recognized as one of the 100 most influential companies in the world in Time magazine, is because of what we do, because of our values and how we implement our mission and purpose. So when you get positive reinforcement in that way, given how you set the goals, that's another form of recognition.
Yes, please.
Guy, for meaningful minutes, we're building the World Time Museum. It's about Web3, metaverse. As parents, we always want to take our kids away from the screens and give them toys and play like we used to. But in the real world, we're moving towards Web3. Kids like computers. I foresee Mattel going into that, combining the toys and the screen time
Sure.
strategy.
Well, we believe that physical play is here to stay. And the physical toy industry has been growing for more than 10 years, even with the growth of technology and screen time and everything else. Part of it is because children multitask anyway. And the other reason is that it's actually, there's so much research that talks about the positive benefits of physical play in child development and empowerment and enriching experiences and driving creativity and social skills and other things. So parents promote it. And so it's here to stay, and we believe physical play will continue to grow. That said, because we own the underlying rights of the brands that are part of the toy, we can engage children wherever they are. And that's part of our strategy, to expand outside of the toy business into games and digital experiences and NFTs and other opportunities. And that's part of the strategy, to grow in addition to what we do on the toy side in other domains.
Shmulik, please.
Shmulik Ben Tovim, I run the FinTech Association in Israel. You get a chance to look at the consumer behavior in so many different cultures and countries. What can you say about the Israeli consumer?
Israeli consumer, well, we have our partner here who represent Mattel in Israel. Israeli consumer is very sophisticated, on many levels, and the brands that we sell here that represent Mattel, particularly Hot Wheels, Barbie, and Fisher-Price, are thriving. Our business has been growing consistently over the last few years with very good engagement in the marketplace. And in that regard, it's interesting to see that the world is very much a big global village, and brands do transcend cultures. And the strength and popularity and appeal of Barbie is very much, as much as it is here, or Germany, or Italy, or any other country for that matter, and the same for Hot Wheels and Fisher-Price. And especially now with the quick movement of information and buzz and excitement, you see it thriving. The strong brands thrive wherever they go. And that's an interesting phenomenon.
Yes, please.
Hi, I'm Corinne Gettner. I'm a Tel Aviv alumni, and I work in Shufersal. I wanted to ask, in the beginning of your discussion, you mentioned that you changed the company to be more agile or to adapt faster to change. And I know with mature and large companies, it could be very hard to do. Can you maybe elaborate on that?
Yes, a big part of our transformation was cultural. It was about culture, and we've done a lot of work on it together with our leadership team and a very strong head of our workforce, head of chief people officer, and global head of HR. Very strong organization, a very strong focus on driving culture, and it comes in many different ways, in very strong communication and focus on continue to engage with our team, be very clear about your values, your mission, your purpose, the entire framework, or your cultural framework, being very specific, very definitive, and continue to advocate and promote and be tangible about it in terms of examples. It didn't happen overnight, but the organization at the core responded very well, because the things that we look to do are clear and in many ways are obvious in terms of our responsibility and our role in society. And we continue to also measure the engagement and different parameters that represent culture. We survey the entire global organization every 6 months, and we get typically over 90% response of all of our employees, tens of thousands of people, or let's say thousands of people that respond and give a specific answer to their feeling, their reaction, the environment, how we can improve their experience at Mattel, and then we act on it. So we continue to measure those results. And one of the interesting things is that during the transformation of the company, while we reduced the workforce by 5,000 positions, we also changed within the 8,500 positions that we kept in the company. We changed 2,700 people, so there was a lot of transition in the company. And add on top of it COVID and all the challenges that brought, and the economy and other things. And during all of that transition, our morale and engagement went up in spite of that very taxing transformation in terms of on the organization. So a lot of it is thanks to our focus on culture and being very clear and deliberate about the journey and what are we aiming to achieve.
Yes, please.
Hi, Shachar. I'm a third-year student here at the faculty, and also one of the manager of the Strategy Student Club under the Tel Aviv Institute. My question is, how do you drive innovation within your organization, which is quite huge, but how do you actually manage to get to each employee and implement the need for innovation?
Well, innovation is one of our 3 leadership values. It's collaboration, innovation, and execution. And as a company, Mattel as a company, at the core, is a creative company. It's a creative organization. And this is something that we continue to empower and invest in and create a fertile ground for creative people. We are trying to be a talent magnet that attracts, retains, and promote innovation and creativity. And it happens in many different ways, but we celebrate it every day. We are really focused on it as a company. It's something that I personally focus on and try to promote and push and really stimulate. And again, it's in many different ways. And all the companies that I've been involved with were at the core creative companies, and each had its own unique market standing or core asset base, where they were all about stimulating innovation in a competitive landscape. And sometimes, sometimes it takes a bit of balancing in terms of how much you invest. You can't do it endlessly because you also need to be financially, disciplined and do it as part of running a commercial enterprise. But at the core, it's something that you have to promote and push and be very mindful every day. And we truly believe that without innovation, without creativity at Mattel, we would lose our competitive advantage. And so it's something that we have to protect and promote and make sure that it continues to lead the way for us.
Hi, my name is Roy. I'm the CTO of Anybody's Web3 company. We do digital experiences and membership loyalty. My question is, how has the current situation with the SEC impacted your Web3 business?
So the current situation with
the SEC, Gary Gensler, the likes, how has it impacted your Web3 initiative? And about it. And last question, the phygital, is it something that Mattel is going to look into? So buying a physical toy and having a digital experience that goes with it.
Yeah, look, we continue to navigate what we do in a changing landscape, including regulatory changes and any development in each market, by the way. And that's something that we became very good at, and that's something that we follow and obviously react and adapt as we go. And digital is absolutely a very key part of our strategy. We have a growing mobile game publisher that we have in partnership with NetEase, that you may know is one of the largest mobile publishers in the world out of China. And this is a very successful startup that is already doing very well within very few short years. We continue to launch NFTs and create experiences that bring together the physical product as well as the digital expressions. And often our NFTs are selling out almost immediately. And it's something that you continue to evolve and innovate because the market is still forming, as you know, and it's changing. But the opportunity for us is to leverage the engagement that people have with our physical product and transcend it to the digital world, where people obviously spend significant time. And this is really how you bring together and marry the two worlds to create a unique experience that continues to change and create excitement for your fans. So you always have to evolve and create the next big thing in terms of user experience outside of the day-to-day. So it's not instead of, but in addition to your physical product.
Yes, please.
Hi, my name is Shlomo. I'm a student here in the university. A few days ago, Jeffrey Katzenberg came to the university to speak, and when he was asked what skill, what attribute can you do to advance in your career, he said to exceed expectations in all areas, to exceed your boss's expectations. And I wanted to ask you a similar question. What trait or what defining attribute would you say that you would have in your experience in your life has helped you advance in your career, and what would you recommend for everyone else here in the room?
Yeah, Jeffrey can definitely speak about career success, and he's done really well. So I will take that advice very seriously, and always under promise and over deliver. That's the game that that we all want to play. And I think it depends obviously at what stage you are in your career, but I think what you really have to do is to be able to achieve defined kind of claim to fame. Not fame necessarily in the newspaper, but inside your organization, where you work. What is that you did that you can say, I was able to achieve and in the benefit of the company? I think every person has to be an entrepreneur in their own world, in that you have to always try to innovate and advance your job and take it to the next level. Whatever was there when you came in, or even if it's a new situation, how do you take it to the next level? How do you innovate as a quasi-entrepreneur? Even in a big corporation, you can still be an entrepreneur in your domain. Do something that would not have happened if not for you. if you didn't do it, if you didn't think of it on your own. And I really do believe that at every level of the organization, it is about being collaborative. You have to be a team player. No individual person can be successful alone. You have to work collaboratively. You have to be innovative in the way I said. How do you innovative doesn't mean to create a new toy or produce a movie. You can innovate in anything. In anything that you do, there's opportunity to innovate and do things in a better way. Whether you're a receptionist or an accountant, not always within, of course, in the case of accounting, innovate within the agreed framework, but you can still do a better job in anything that you do. And then, of course, ultimately, do you get your job done? Have you achieved what you're supposed to do? Have you executed what your job requires? And if you do that, I think good things happen.
All right, so we're running out of time. So let me just say, all the people that still have questions, please raise your hand. So we'll go with, you'll go first, then you, and that will be it. Okay? Please.
So I'm wondering, Hot Wheels is like a traditionally boy toy, and Barbie's is like a traditionally a girl toy. And do you think that in the next years, because now that the company's focusing more on like diversifying, that the company will also go in a direction, or the whole market of dolls and like boy toys will go in a direction that it'll be like no more differentiation between the two groups?
At Mattel, we used to have boys category and girls category, and we changed that. We now have dolls and vehicles, and infant toddler preschool, and action figures, and plush, and games, and building sets. So we don't think anymore in terms of gender. It's fair to say that some play patterns and products are more popular within a certain gender, but we don't think we try to create experiences that appeal to everybody, and of course create those experiences in a way that speak to children wherever they are and how they think about the world through their eyes. And that's been an important evolution for us. And we don't try to dictate or box any product or any body. It's about how do you open and appeal to all of our consumers in any way they want to engage with what we do.
Great.
My name is Natalie. I'd like to ask you about challenges. You said that you graduated in the United States. So what challenges did you have in your beginning? And what challenges do you have like still now? And like, I'm sorry that I'm very excited to ask because my dream is to work abroad and to make changes, big changes like you do. So my question is, what challenges have you had in the past? What challenges do you have now as a foreigner who works in a global company?
Yeah, the truth is things change all the time. We always have new challenges in different forms. Back in the day when I went to study abroad, I only knew one person in Los Angeles who was my roommate. Because of the military and travel and school, I basically got to the age of 30, and my longest work experience was 1 year as a windsurfing instructor. And so the guy, my friend who was my roommate, he was a tennis instructor while I was teaching windsurfing, was the only person I knew in LA. And so I came in and through school, business school, it was an opportunity for me to know people and try to interact and engage. And that was a challenge, to find your opening. And that was the first, you can say, maybe, career starting point. But since then, along the way, there are many challenges, and you just have to focus on what you try to achieve and feel confident about your goals, that you do them in the right way, and chart your plan. But everything is possible, and sometimes when one door closes, another one will open. And so you just have to continue going forward and be confident about your plan.
So
No, I think where I still have an accent. So back then I had even a stronger accent. And I remember that when I started to work with Chaim Saban, and I had a strong accent, he said, why don't we take accent improvement coaching from somebody? So you can be a bit more fluent in English. And I said, great idea. So we found someone who was teaching in Hollywood. There are a lot of coaches like that. So I started to work with a coach. And after maybe 4 sessions, she started to speak English with an Israeli accent. So she said, that it's not working. I said, give it up. And I gradually, over the last 30 years, slowly continued to work on my accent. But it's about I think the world is pretty open to people from different places, and you look at CEOs of some of the biggest companies in the world, they're from everywhere, and that is the beauty and a good thing.
Hi, my name is Lior, and I'm the CEO of a startup called Tech Vision. Like many big corporations, they have an open innovation program, usually for startups. Do you have any, and what do you plan to establish?
We, as a big company, we still look for early stage opportunities. We have to stay focused on our big, on kind of the big goals that we have. And it's a balance. How do you invest or get involved in small opportunities that can be big? And how do you, at the same time, focus on the big activities that actually matter and really move the company forward? And so we remain open and receptive to early stage situations, but we obviously always need to think, how does it quickly and meaningfully move the needle for a company, rather than, because you can do many little things, and if they don't, in the aggregate, don't work, then it's diverts your resource and focus. So it's trying to balance the two together.
One last question over there, because we're running out of time.
Thank you for being here. And you mentioned, when you were asked about the role of a leader, you mentioned that one of the most important things is helping your team achieve their full potential. I wanted to ask what you learned and what you can advise on what is the most important thing in mentoring and helping other people to achieve this full potential.
It really varies by people. No one is the same as another, and some people need constant attention, and other people will feel suffocated if you do that. So it really is about how do you adapt yourself to other people rather than the other way around. And it's about ultimately, you do need to try and believe in people that have talent. You need to be quick in recognizing that if things don't work out, they don't work out. Often, in terms of working with people, if you have doubt, there's no doubt. That's there's a saying in Hebrew that describes it pretty well, but I really think often it's the case. When you hire a new person, it's kind of amazing how quickly you know. You don't need to wait for months to know if it's working or not working. But you have to be very positive, believe in people, give them the opportunity, empower them, invest the time, and if people do achieve what you hope they will, just continue to open up more opportunities and create more runway for them to do more. It's all about creating opportunities for others to be at the best and reach their potential, which ultimately plays back in the interest of the company and the rest of the team.
You wanted to ask one last question, please.
So I can't hear you.
Probably had your ups and downs throughout the career. What was the worst decision?
We saved the worst question to the end.
Look, there are constant challenges, and of course you don't win every battle, but I try to forget them as soon as they happen and move on to the next one. And because you can get caught in, in the history. By the way, also in the things that did work well. It's all about the next situation. Don't dwell on the past. When I started at Mattel had a storied history, decades and generations. And some of the classic question in the beginning was, why didn't it work before? Why, when we started our transformation, why it then started to work? The current question, the very timely question, is how come Mattel never made a movie? Why did it take 64 years to make the Barbie movie? So a lot of questions, why it didn't happen in the past and what didn't work in the past. And it really is about, you can spend a whole career analyzing the past, especially at Mattel, what happened back then. And what I try to focus is what is the present and the future. Sometimes you can pick up things from the past, but often it can be distracting and just not helpful because things change and landscape change. And I'll leave you, just with one maybe story where when we launched Fox Kids in Europe, I came to do it in the local market, and we didn't do we didn't do any research. It wasn't about research. We didn't even check who is broadcasting where, not what is the rating or what is the strength of the competitors. We know it's competitive, and we said, okay, we'll figure it out. And the good thing is that we actually did it that way without trying to study and analyze the history before us, because if we did, we might have not dare compete against Disney, Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network, and many other channels that were ahead of us for many years. We just came in and executed our strategy, and it worked very well. And so, that was an example where you didn't dwell on the past, you didn't shackle yourself with pre-existing situation. You just came in and you followed your strategy, and you were able to execute and do the right thing. So always try to look forward. Don't gonna question your failures as well as successes. It's all about looking forward.
Well, dear friends, I think we all.
Thank you.
I think I'll be speaking on behalf of every person in the room if I say that thank you for this really profound, deep, and enriching experience, learning from the best. You make us all very proud, whether as Tel Aviv University alumni or Israelis in general, and we thank you for everything that you do, and good luck in the future with Barbie and beyond.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure.